Donald Trump is truly confused.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
He didn't just get me confused. He mentioned it over and over and over again. Yeah. He's not what he was in 2016. He has declined. That's a fact.
I mean, we won, last time we won 50 states, right?
This is not Donald Trump of 2016, guys.
What? What is?
If he's off the teleprompter, he can barely keep a cogent thought. I mean, that's just fact.
We are an institute and a powerful death penalty. We will put this on.
I think he's declining.
I stumbled and mumbled purposely.
I do speak in long, complex sentences, and I have a lot of material in each sentence.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread.
Have you noticed? He's a little confused these days.
A person close to Trump actually says that he's rattled by Biden's efforts to get under his skin.
That was a new ad from the President Biden campaign calling Donald Trump out for Trump's clear cognitive decline. We've been talking about that here on the MeidasTouch network, and I like that the Biden campaign is doing these Midas-style rapid response videos calling out Trump, because as we've said here on the MeidasTouch network, there is nothing about Trump's behavior that is normal at all. Everything he does is absolutely disqualifying, and it's obvious there are things that are seriously going wrong in that man's head right now. And this follows another ad, and I like that Biden's going on the offensive, another ad released by the Biden campaign. And this is what Joe Biden wrote on his Twitter account. He said, "I don't agree with Nikki Haley on everything, but we agree on this much. She is not Nancy Pelosi." And then the Biden-Harris HQ account said, "New ad just dropped." And this one was dropped last week. So the one I just showed you at the outset of the video, that just dropped. And this other one was dropped last week when Donald Trump said that he gave 10,000 troops to Nikki Haley in order for Nikki Haley to stop the January 6th insurrection. Donald Trump was trying to spread his defamatory conspiracy about Nancy Pelosi, but confused Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley, and then just repeated Nikki Haley's name over again. Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley. I gave Nikki Haley 10,000 troops. Nikki Haley. Here, play this clip.
Last night, Trump is at a rally.
You know, Nikki Haley.
And he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't handle January 6th better.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. What? What is? I'm driving over a road where it's almost all paper. And you know, you can see paper. I know paper. I know cans. But all the time now we see whales washing up on shore because of the wind. Our veterans don't have cell phones, do they?
He got confused. He got confused and said he was running against Obama. He never ran against Obama.
And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Obama he doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, you mean President Biden. So,
don't put our country at risk like this.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
You know, I recently had Democratic strategist Simon Rosenberg on the show. You can go check out that interview I did with him. And even Rosenberg didn't see this clip that I'm about to show you. And, and this is where, Donald Trump, as one of the main parts of his stump speech, if you even want to call it that, he spends a huge amount of time bragging about passing cognitive exams and how he took a cognitive exam recently. And he talks about a recent cognitive exam. He goes into like bizarre detail about it, which actually reflects his cognitive decline, because you'll hear him. He's like, they want you to name 6 things. And then he names 5 things. Then he talks about, they ask you, you got to do 4,337 divided by 8. Here, let me play you this clip. I mean, this is what Trump is talking about as he goes to these various locations in the primaries. And then the kind of weird MAGA base, they like clap at this. And I'm like, what are we even watching here? Here, play this clip.
I said, is it tough? He said, yeah, it's a tough test. The first couple of questions are easy, like they'll have a lion, a giraffe, a whale, and a shark. And they'll say, which one's the lion, okay? And that's all the press covered, the first question. They didn't cover the last question. Multiply 4,733. Multiply times 7, divide, without paper and pencil, by the way, divide it by 4, add up another 37 and a half, 0.5, I remember that. And what's your number? How many people in this room could do it? Not too many. Or they give you 6 names in a row. I took a lot of heat on this. They give you 6 names in a row at the beginning. Sir, I'm going to give you 6 names. Good. They look at them. A chair, a hat, a badge, a necklace, and they vote. Those things. We're going to give you 6 things. And I say, good, what's going on? Can you rename them? So I name them. Then they go back, and if you can do it in order, that's even better. I do them in order, perfect. Then they come back to you 30 minutes later at the end, last question. They say, what were those 6 things? That there aren't too many people, and they laughed, everyone said, oh, that's so easy. There's only about 2% of this room can do it, but I did it. I did it very easily, but I got mocked. They said, oh, that's so easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Go home and try doing it, okay?
So you have that clip, like here's Trump when he went to Iowa. Here he is talking about how he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. What in the world's going on here? Here, play this clip.
But if I'm sitting down and that boat's going down and I'm on top of a battery and the water starts flooding in, I'm getting concerned. But then I look 10 yards to my left and there's a shark over there. So I have a choice of electrocution or shark. You know what I'm going to take? Electrocution. I will take electrocution every single time. Do we agree? I will take electrocution.
You know, his behavior is like that. And, you know, I know legacy media isn't giving attention to this, but we focus on it here at the MeidasTouch Network because it is so incredibly shocking, I suppose, if it wasn't Donald Trump. But like, also shocking how no one else is really covering this in any detail. I mean, the Inspector General report from the Department of Defense that was recently released showing that Donald Trump turned the White House into a pill mill, and they were prescribing fentanyl patches in massive quantities, Versed, which is the date rape drug. They were prescribing hydrocodone and Provigil and ketamine and all of these drugs, lots of hard drugs, and a lot of hard drugs that are only prescribed in operating rooms were being handed out like candy in the Trump White House. Here's just one of those pages right here from this Office of Inspector General report. And they didn't, and one of the things they focused on was the waste in spending on this at the White House. And they identified in the Inspector General report that the problem was in the Trump White House. It wasn't anywhere else in DC. It was in the Trump White House. And you see right there the list of drugs that were being prescribed, just one page of that. Oh, and by the way, you know, speaking of what President Biden put in that ad about Donald Trump's decline, I mean, he was asked this earlier about whether he will use his campaign funds in order to pay his verdicts, whether he's going to grift off of his supporters to pay the $83.3 million verdict he was hit with, the New York Attorney General civil fraud verdict. And he doesn't even know what the question is about. He claims they won the case. Here, play this clip.
Do you plan to try to use campaign funds or PAC money to try to pay some of the penalties in the New York defamation and fraud cases?
I don't understand what?
Are you thinking of potentially trying to use campaign money to pay some of those penalties that you might incur?
What penalties?
In the New York fraud case, the defamation case.
I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, that's been proven as far as I'm concerned. And actually, we won in the Court of Appeals. You probably saw that. That case has been largely won in the Court of Appeals. That was a political case coordinated with the White House by the Attorney General, I assume is what you're talking about. And we won that case largely in the Court of Appeals.
The defamation case, the original.
That's a ridiculous case. That case is.
And you got President Biden going on the offense right here. And in his speeches, he's saying, look at how Donald Trump's behaving. Play the clip.
There are only 2 presidents in American history who left office with fewer jobs than they took office. Herbert Hoover and, yes, Donald Herbert Hoover Trump. And by the way, have you noticed he's a little confused these days? He apparently can't tell the difference between Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi. Well, folks.
And here again, you got President Biden calling out Donald Trump in South Carolina about how he calls our military, how Donald Trump calls our military suckers and losers. Here, play this clip.
Well, as Commander-in-Chief, I look at veterans completely differently than Donald Trump. Think about this, especially here in South Carolina, a proud military state. Donald Trump, when he was Commander-in-Chief, refused to visit a cemetery, U.S. cemetery outside of Paris for fallen American soldiers. And he referred to those heroes, and I quote, as suckers and losers. He actually said that. He said that. How dare he say that? How dare he talk about my son and all of us rest like that? Look, I call them patriots and heroes. The only loser I see is Donald Trump. It makes me angry.
Here is the Federal Reserve Chair Powell talking about right now under Biden, the economy is actually doing very, very good. When you have the chair of the Federal Reserve saying this, play this clip.
So your first question, how to describe where we are. So I guess I would just say this. Executive summary would be that growth is solid to strong over the course of last year. The labor market, 3.7% unemployment indicates that the labor market is strong. We've had just about 2 years now of unemployment under 4%. That hasn't happened in 50 years, so it's a good labor market. And we've seen inflation come down. We've talked about that. So we've got 6 months of good inflation data and an expectation that there's more to come. So this is a good situation. Let's be honest. This is a good economy.
And by the way, you have Fox saying it also. Play the clip.
And the U.S. economy stays strong. So I think, and the inflation numbers appear to be getting better all the time. So we're probably in a good place.
So look, Biden's going to keep on going on the offensive. I think you got to bring it to Donald Trump. Keep doing this rapid response and call Donald Trump out. Like, again, that clip I showed you where Donald Trump was bragging about the cognitive decline and saying he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. Could you ever imagine that this would be the Republican Party in 2024? Man, what MAGA did to them is so shameful. Anyway, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support. If you want to support journalism like this, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.